Hey beautiful people, welcome or welcome back to the channel. It's Dale here and I am your captain. Today's video is going to be one of a kind of video, me kind of reacting to my recent video of me leaving the UK. I know, roast me in the comment section. And this is because that video has gained so many views. As at the time I'm making this video, it has gained about 34,000 views, and a lot of people were not liking my I am leaving the UK, which I honestly do not really care that much. But as someone that is always positive, I am making this video to give you options if you cannot leave the UK, because believe it or not, there are a lot of people that cannot leave the UK for a lot of reasons, either family. Some people cannot stay away from their family, and that is the fact. And some people cannot leave because they do not have the means, okay? And some people cannot leave because they just are scared of change, okay? So there are lots of reasons, but I am going to be giving you options to do, like things to do, especially if my reasons for leaving the UK is also the reason why you would love to leave the UK but you cannot for some reasons. I am going to be playing the video I made about why I'm leaving the UK, and for each point I made, I'm going to give you an alternative, like suggestion, and it's just like me telling myself what I would do if I have no options rather than to stay in the UK. So I hope this video entertains you. I hope this video gives you a little bit of guide. I am not an expert. I am just a young adult trying to navigate my life, and of course I'm someone who has so many choices. Being a registered nurse, I have choice to live most places in the world if I want to, and I know not everyone is privileged to do that. So I am just giving you my own piece of advice. Whatever I say here is not an expert advice, so make sure you do your own research as well, or don't take it, just watch and leave, okay? So without wasting further of our time, let's get right into it. Now, the very first reason why I, Dare Your Goodness, will be leaving the UK is because I am a lover of adventure, right? Call adventure, you call me. I love adventure, right? And if I don't have the means of relocating out of the UK, I can still travel around the UK. I can practice in England, in Wales, Northern Ireland. I can also go to any of the British Islands and practice. As an NMC registered nurse, I can also practice in the British Isles, Isles of Wight, and some other island that I can practice as an NMC registered nurse. So being in England alone is not the only place I can practice if I actually love adventures and I cannot leave the UK in general. As much as I would love to try other places, these are options for me. I can, for adventure's sake. Also, I can travel around the world, especially if I'm in the UK, where it's very accessible to travel around Europe. So that would be my option if I am not leaving the UK. So now let's go back to the second point. Because the UK is getting more and more expensive. The fact is, everywhere in the world is getting expensive. There's inflation around the world. Even my country, Nigeria, at this moment is very expensive to live in. Much as everywhere in the world is getting more expensive, I will not rule out the fact that there are some countries that are much better, in the sense that when the cost of living rises, people are expected to get a pay rise. And some countries, as they have made constant efforts to help their citizens, so we cannot rule out that fact. But if I still have to live in the UK with the cost of living rise, there are some things I can do, like help myself reduce my bills, cut down on cost, and probably work more smarter to get more money. Also live in less expensive area, like places up north are very, very cheap, and not just up north, okay? So most people tell you go up to Liverpool, Manchester, it's cheap, but the truth is Manchester is not cheap. Manchester itself, okay, like compared to other parts of the UK, Manchester is a little bit affordable. But if you go and live in Salford, if you live in the city center, Gangon, Manchester is very expensive, okay? So you need to live outside the city center. Even if you go to Northern Ireland, which is considered to be the cheapest amongst the country in UK, if you live in Belfast, it's considered expensive compared to someone who will live outside of Belfast. Okay, move to a cheaper city, cut down on cost of things you buy, cook food. So if you go out to eat, like a 3-course meal or 4-course meal might cost you £30, £50 for a meal. It depends on the location or where you go. However, if I cook my meal like an African that I am, I might use like £50, and that £50 I'll cook a proper meal that might last me for a week. Please don't quote me wrong. It depends if you love eating. It might be more, it might be less, and it also depends if you have some goods at home. Like most people have a bag of rice, so you don't have to buy rice every time. Most people have yams at home. Most people have gari, like all those things we get in bulk from our country. And then you just have to buy fresh things like fresh vegetables and all that. So if you buy stuffs like that, basic things you need to cook a meal, and you spend £50 or £100, that might last you for a week or two. You can live in shared apartment for a while. People do that, especially when you come into the country newly. You can live in shared apartment. Some people live in shared apartment even years after being in the UK. 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, some people still live in a shared apartment, because you don't have to pay light bill, you don't have to pay water bill, you don't have to pay most things, but be ready to share apartment with people. There are some apartments that you get en suite, so that's better. You have your own room, toilet to yourself. The only thing you share is the kitchen, and if they have a lounge, you can share the lounge together. So that's another thing to consider. And another thing that will help the cost of living is either you live very close to your hospital or where you work, so that you do not have to pay transportation. You just have to walk. And some hospitals provide accommodation if you are a nurse, so they can provide you accommodation, especially if you're single. So this is something you can consider as well. Another thing you can consider to help with the cost of living is try and look for cheaper plans. Like for your phone bills, phone companies will give you £20 per month. You can see other companies that will give you £10. So just make more research. You might look at it like, oh, this is £10, this is £2, but by the time you calculate how much you save a month, you find out that you've actually saved a lot. To get cards from stores, so like Tesco, Asda, Aldi, some of these stores, they have like a loyalty card that allows you to gain points when you buy things. It might look like 1 point, 2.3 points, but by the time you end up all the points you buy every month, and you can use it to purchase something new, that's like saving some money, if you know what I mean. And also using good credit cards. Some credit card gives you points as well when you buy things. I already have a video on the best credit cards channel. You know that I've talked about the salaries in the UK. Most, you know, NHS workers are one of the lowest paid in the first world countries. Even is the salaries for nurses. Okay, so I'm a registered nurse currently working with the NHS, and one of the reasons I stated in my video was the pay for NHS workers. Now, if I am not going to leave the UK, what I will do to help myself in this regards is simply, once I get my indefinite leave to remain, which will be 5 years after I have resided in the UK, I will switch over to bank in my current trust. Bank staffs are allowed to pick up shifts as they like, so I can either work once or twice a week, but I think I'll do twice a week, and then I will move over to doing more agency shifts. Okay, so at the moment I already do agency shifts, but I only do agency shifts once a week. That means I'm not maximizing my potentials in the UK as at this moment. So if I don't have an option to leave the UK, what I would do would be cutting down my hours with my employer immediately I get my indefinite leave to remain, which will be like once or twice. Some people who do not give 2 cents, they quit that job immediately and just go straight to agency. And I will be telling you, I don't really buy that idea. If you can't do it, I'll advise you to do it. If you have the mind, do it, but do it for a period of 5 or 10 years, and after that just go back to employment with the NHS for your safety and health reasons. Okay guys, we will not be young forever. We will not have all the energy to forever. We need a backup plan. We need sick pay. We need all those kind of things. As much as agency nursing pays good, if you don't invest your money properly on something that will give you money every month, you need to fall back to NHS at some point in your life. So make sure you plan yourself very well. If you're going full-time agency, please have investments somewhere. Please have passive incomes somewhere so as to help you in case you fall ill, okay? So what I would advise people to do is to either go bank on your trust and go bank in your trust, pick 1 or 2 shifts every week, and then you can do 2 full days with your agency. Or if you have the energy, you can do 3 long days with your agency, okay? So it depends on how you want to do it. But when you have your IRR, you have the freedom to do a lot of things. You can set up businesses, you can own properties that will give you money. You can do rent to rent, which is one of the most lucrative things to do. But right now, the property market is crashing. So just make sure you have good brokers and good people to help you around also. So yeah, that's something I would consider if I am not living in the UK. And I also would love to put out cars for rent as well. I mean, things that will give me money weekly, and just carry on more investment, and also the YouTubing. I mean, I cannot remove the fact that YouTube is kind of my passive income as well. So as much as I know not everybody can do YouTubing, but for me, I am doing it. And if I'm going to be in the UK at a point in my life, the YouTube will help my cost of living crisis, if you know what I mean. So definitely try to invest more, get more incomes, not just nursing, because believe you me, one source of income will not sustain you, whether you live in US, whether you live in Canada, whether you live in Australia. It's not a UK thing alone. You just need to make different source of income, whether passive or active. You need it, okay? So with the cost of living, one thing I would have done if I'm going to be living in the UK is to get a mortgage. As much as mortgage will cost a lot at the first instance, it's a way of cutting down bills. So when you have a mortgage, for example, you make a deposit of like 15,000 for a 2 or 3 bedroom house, you'll end up paying lesser than you would pay if you're renting, okay? So, or as quick as possible, I would advise anyone that is willing to stay in the UK to get a mortgage, all right? And do is to level up in your career, okay? So this is not just for nurses. Just always apply for job promotion, apply for new jobs that will give you more money. If you feel that you have enough experience, you can always request for a higher position, or you can always request for a pay rise if you can. You should specialize quickly, okay? Specialist course, and before you know it, you are at the top of your band. Don't be scared of going for promotions. Promotions in the UK will not come to you, except for some instances where your manager likes you and just tell you, oh, there's a vacancy for a band 6, or do you want to go into the specialist role and all that. But most of the times you need to apply for this role yourself. Always search on your NHS jobs, search online, you will see new roles. Try and apply. It doesn't matter how many times you get a no, you definitely get one yes very soon, okay? If you get a good specialty, your earnings will be high. That will help with the cost of living. It's because of job opportunities, okay? Okay, so when it comes to job opportunities, I've already said that personally for me, I don't have any issue with getting a job as a nurse. I am here because of my job, and I was talking basically about my relatives and my family coming over. So if I don't have an option to leave the UK, for my family, I will make sure that they transition to new areas. For example, tech is a new thing now, and if they have spent 4 to 5 years in the university to study a course that will not benefit them, why can't they go back to school to study a tech course that will be 1 year, 2 years program? Most of the tech courses are just a few certifications, and they can start their journey into tech. If I don't have an option, I'll definitely ensure that most of them that are not in health, because I have some of them that are in health. And if I find out that they cannot go through the health route, because I know healthcare is not something I want to force someone into, because it's all about passion. Personally, I had passion for it. I wouldn't like force anyone to say go and study healthcare courses or go and become a nurse. Have them transition to something that is more marketable than what they have studied in school. And by the way, most people that are wealthy right now, most of them are not doing what they study. You see some musicians, they didn't study music. They just found their way to passion and what will bring food to their table. So if I have a sibling that is not in a marketable profession, I will always advise them to take short courses, or if possible, go back to school to get a more marketable course, okay? So that's why before you allow your children go to school, see the future. It takes a longer period to get permanent residency here in the UK. Well, with the permanent residency situation, I unfortunately cannot do anything about that. You have to stay for the 5 years. This is government rules. No one can change that except there's a change in government. But this is how it is. You have to stay the 5 years, and you have to stay one more extra year to become a citizen in the UK. Should be grateful that at the end of the 5 to 6 years, we know that we are eligible to apply. There are some countries like in the Middle East, even if you stay for 100 years, 10 years, you would not get even the permanent stay. So I think it's something we should be grateful. At least our children and our spouse can benefit from this. So there's really nothing we can do. The most we can do is just wait, watch, and pray. Weather, I really don't like cold. Okay guys, when it comes to the weather, as much as I say that there's not much things to do again about the UK weather, I'm going to say there are some parts in the UK that are not as cold as others. So if you want to live in the south area, the south area weather is a little bit better than up north. So anything up north, Manchester, Liverpool, Newcastle, all those areas in the north, they are really cold, like freezing, sometimes -degrees. But if you live close to London, up south, even the Midlands, I think the Midlands west area is a little bit better. The times I've been there, the weather wasn't that bad. But even when these few days when it snowed, if you remember, there were some places that did not even experience snow in England. If you live in England and your place did not experience snow, let me know in the comment section, because it snowed almost everywhere, and that means there are some places that are a bit warm. So I'm sure of the south areas, they are a little bit warmer than the north. So if you don't like cold, avoid the north totally. Anything north, even Northern Ireland, avoid them because they are really cold. So if the weather, the cold is something you want to avoid, just go up south. Okay, it's more expensive to live in the south as compared to the north, so you have to weigh which one you can keep up with, whether the cost of living or the weather. You have to just choose one. You cannot really have all. Okay, so yes, that's what I would have done differently. The houses are so small. This always brings up. So when it comes to the space, there's little you can do. Okay, so I will tell you my own point of view. I have gone house searching, and I've seen houses online, and I've gone to view houses physically. I've come to realize that houses in the south area are a bit smaller compared to the north. So if you are someone that is big on space and you can't leave the UK, I'll advise you to search up north. Okay, so in the northern area, as I have seen, have more space in their houses as compared to the south area. Anywhere close to London and up south, the house space is a bit smaller. This might be wrong. I'm not saying every house or every place in the south is smaller, but majority, I would say that's the case. Okay, and another thing you can do is to live in the countryside. So houses in the countryside are a bit bigger and has more space compared to houses in the city center. So the countryside, you have more space, you have a good veranda to play around, you have like more space, but know that most of those houses are quite isolated. You might not have a lot of people around you and other things, and most of the cases, most houses that are spacious, especially if they are new build, are expensive. Okay, and it also depends on your taste of building. Okay, let me not lie, some people would find some houses spacious. Some people will say, no, this house is not spacious enough. So it all depends on your taste. But I found out that for some reason, the old houses are more spacious. So if you do not mind living in old houses or renovated houses, you can put up with that. That will be an option as well. Because personally for me, I love new builds. I love to be, if not the first person to go into a house, I love to be the second person. I really do not like old builds, and don't worry, I know that old builds are better structured, are more strong and all that, but some of us, we live for the moment, and I love new builds. Okay. And also save up more for your deposit. So Some of the houses with space will cost you more than houses without space. So because having space in the UK is very rare, so when you see one, the landlord or agents tends to increase the price because of they know that a space is not something that is very common. So if you are looking at getting somewhere very spacious, you need to save up more deposit. So yes guys, this is me reacting to my video of why I'm leaving the UK and things I would do differently if I am not leaving the UK. And now the big question is, am I still leaving the UK? Yes guys, yes. Before I brought up that video of me leaving the UK, I have already gotten my license in Australia and I knew I would leave the UK. That video was not just for content's sake. If you have been following my YouTube video, you know that I don't really do content for content's sake. Most of my contents are personal life journey. If I travel, I talk about the visa process and all that. If I get a new job, I talk about the specialty I'm going to and things related to that. And I've gotten comments like, oh, why are you still here? Or I thought you left the UK. I thought, are you in Australia now? Guys, I am in the process. And if you have relocated before, relocation is not in a month, okay? I just got my license a month ago and I've just gotten a job. It takes a long process, okay? I need to get paperwork in place. I need to do a lot of things to get my visa. And of course, even after my visa, I still have to give notice before leaving. I have things here to settle. I have to sell things that I have. I have to like make sure that everything I'm leaving here is okay before I leave. I've been in the UK for 3 years. Do not expect me to just pick up my bag and leave immediately. I have things I have here that I need to settle before just leaving the UK. So yes, I would be leaving, and hopefully this year I would leave. And of course, that is why I have you all here subscribed to follow my journey. I'll be taking you all along with the whole journey. So do not worry and do not think I am misleading you. I am not. And as much as possible, I hope you find value in my content. I love sharing these things with you. And yeah, I will see you guys in my next video. Thank you so much for watching. Do not forget to click that like button, and if you're not subscribed yet to my channel, please make sure you subscribe and join the family. I'll see you guys later.